Oh, shit.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Dead Funny Review Show. I'm your host, Chris. Joining me today are my co-hosts, Kelsey, Cody, and Brandon. And we are here to talk about Avengers, finally. I've been so excited to sit down and talk about this movie with you guys. So, before we dive into that, someone is having a tad bit of a webcam issue, so you will see a splash between Cody and his new favorite Avenger, Fat Thor.
Look,
quite rapidly.
our fans need to see Thor at his best, and that is hand halfway down his pants.
It's a pretty interesting sight to see. That is for sure. Thor with a Coke in one hand and fondling himself in the other. This is definitely something to be looking at. That's for sure.
God, and War Machine being like, I'm pretty sure he's dead. Like, that just killed me.
Yeah, that shit was funny. So I think he's dead.
So, for those of you who can probably maybe not see it, some of you who can see it, I've got Rocket Raccoon behind me because Brandon stole Iron Man. And I've got Hulk behind Kelsey. And then, obviously, we've already talked about Thor. So
I'm really sad you didn't take my advice and go with Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, no, it was literally like he said that, and I was like, I'm legitimately thinking about just having like the dust from the enemy behind me. But I was like, it was a toss up between Rocket and Black Panther because Black Panther is like my second favorite Avenger, but Rocket fits so close to Deadpool's personality in my opinion. And that was easily my favorite part of the movie was the fact that they actually put Rocket Raccoon in his actual outfit from the comics in that movie. So, like, the red scarf and the blue suit, like, that was actually his outfit in the comics. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I was so excited about that. I said, like, to the people that I went to go see the movie with, I said, like, 5 times in the movie, I was like, hey, that's Rocket's actual outfit. Like, that's fucking cool. I was so happy. Like, his little scarf and everything, I was so happy about that. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Rocket's outfit. Anyways, so obviously if you haven't gotten it from the title and for some reason you're still watching, spoilers all up in here. All up in here. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to get spoiled, back the fuck out.
Somebody's going to watch the whole video, get to like 5 minutes from the end. Oh, fuck.
I mean, I put it in the title every fucking time, so I don't know what else to tell you. Read, people. We talked about this during the Venom show. Read. I can't help you out any more than that. Oh, man. Anyways, so I guess we'll go ahead and go with overall thoughts. Good movie, yay, nay?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cody?
Yes. I was surprised at how much I liked it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That was the first thing I heard because I actually did not go see this midnight release, which I was very upset about. I didn't see this until like Saturday morning, and all my friends came back with the first one was better, and I was like,
I totally.
What the heck?
Everybody I talked to was like, well, except for Mike, and that's because of the fucking Captain America Wilden Mjolnir, because his fucking favorite character is Cap. Beating the fuck out of Thanos. He was like, this movie's the best. I was like, well, the scene was cool, I'll give you that, but that's not what fucking tied it as the best movie for me. It was pretty cool to see that. I knew that was fucking coming ever since Ultron, wherever he fucking first moved it a little bit. I was like, they're going to have him wield Mjolnir.
Yeah, that was a good setup.
Later. Yeah.
That was a good, and I knew that was in the comic books. It was something that like fans were into. So when I saw that happened, I was like, oh, a bunch of people are gonna be real happy about this.
Yep.
I was one of them, but the one thing that ticked me off that I didn't understand is that Mjolnir does nothing except like help Thor hone his powers and like direct them and point them in a certain direction. So Chris Evans, Captain America, should not be able to wield lightning with it. Am I correct, or am I missing something?
You're wrong. So in the actual words inscribed on the hammer are those who are worthy enough to wield Mjolnir can possess the power of Thor, including his lightning, which is why he was able to do that.
Yeah,
so really, we got Captain America and 2 Thors, like, at the same time.
Correct.
That was actually something I wondered about, and this could be me not knowing the comic books well. Was it like a thing where Thor would like be puny before he picked up the hammer, and then he would like He-Man out, or was that just He-Man? And I was putting those two characters together.
That's definitely somebody else that you're putting together.
Okay,
you're thinking of All Might, dude.
Yeah, fucking All Might. Yeah, sure. Plus Ultra.
Or the Hulk. Or the Hulk.
So I guess before we dive too far into that, because we did a DFU on the Hulk, Kelsey, I want to know what you thought about finally getting Hulk and Bruce Banner together. The Hulk I told you about, the legend.
Guys, I was so excited because the Hulk, as you can tell from who's behind me right here, like, I'll get the hell out of the screen. The Hulk is my favorite character, has been for a really long time. And actually, I have a goddaughter, and she decided almost immediately, without any of my influence in her life, that Hulk was her favorite character too. And so, like, I'll randomly, like, send her things that are just green because she's like, yeah, green like the Hulk! I'm like, you and I, kid, we're on. But right before the movie was starting, I had two friends sitting right next to me that, while they subscribed to us, had not watched the Hulk DFU, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna learn you a thing. And I was telling them all about, like, his greatest feats and all about, like, the fact that in one of the comics early on he could be both at the same time. And then when it showed up on screen, like, both of them leaned forward and looked at me, and I was like, ah! I had zero chill, guys. I was so pumped.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I was surprised that they went with that because, like, we had that whole, like, DFU study group where we talked about predictions, and I did not see them going directly to that. I thought, like, they might take steps to get there, but it was literally like the next time we saw the Hulk, it was fucking both of them together. I was like, wow. I thought we were gonna have some arc where, like, the Hulk was gonna have to come out and become the Hulk again in order to save the day. Nope. Literally was just, here you go. They're living together, and I was like, all right, well, I'm okay with it. I like how he was just, like, so into the whole fucking superhero thing too. He's all like, yeah, dab, go ahead, you know.
He was like a
mom.
freaking rock star.
Yeah, basically. Although that scene with Ant-Man was great.
I like that he wasn't Bruce Banner.
Take the goddamn phone.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't act like Bruce anymore. He acted like a Bruce that suddenly had, like, way too much confidence.
Exactly.
It was a little bit like
it was
Venom suit Peter Parker, you know, in Spider-Man 3. Just not as bad.
We don't talk about that.
He didn't have emo hair.
We just talk about Tom Holland Spider-Man and Tom Hardy Venom, dude.
we don't talk about, like I said, Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire both live in a box called I Can't Act My Way the Fuck Out of This Box. They sublet that together. And that is where they exist.
The first two were good.
No. The whole series is trash. The first two were good at their time because that was all we had. Now that we have the MCU, they're trash. They're literally trash. All three of them.
Yeah, there have been a few really good Spider-Man movies recently. No, but I was gonna say, I like that you saw the effect that the snap had on all these characters. Because, like, the reason why I didn't care about Infinity War was they, like, did the snap, and I'm like, yeah, obviously they're not all dead. And then, like, a week later, they released a trailer for a new movie with a dead character in it, and I'm like, oh, really? They're all dead, huh? Yeah, but I like that it had consequences. Yeah. And they didn't just get to undo everything, you know, like... Right. That the heroes themselves were screwed up by failing and then had to, like, try to put the pieces back together.
Which was interesting because we got Gamora. Go ahead, Kelsey. Go ahead.
One thing that bothered me, though, is there at the very beginning of Infinity War, Thanos specifically said, I can snap, like, he mentioned that he could snap his fingers and, you know, take away half of the universe and any memory that they ever existed. And that's what he said. And so that's what I was expecting. And so then when he did it and he only took away the people and left the memory, I'm like, that's where you fucked up, dude. If you'd taken away the memory that these people ever existed, you would have been fine. Yep. Nobody would have come for you. You would have achieved it. You would have been your inevitable badassness self. But no, you left the memories, which you knew you shouldn't do, and that's
Kelsey,
why you died.
I mean, Kelsey, are you on Thanos' team right now? Or are you like, look, Thanos had the idea.
I'm not gonna lie. I was actually, like, rooting for Thanos when he started fucking fighting all three of them at once. I was like, damn, this dude's fucking sick. He's a good villain.
He's a great villain.
he's fucking baller, dude.
I enjoy him.
He's like,
because
find the stones. It's like, what about you? Oh wait, I was like, damn. I was like, this dude is so badass.
I like the confidence,
he's such a good villain,
and determination. Dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times that gets lost, and they kind of have bland heroes. And, like, his motivation in the movie, as stated, was kind of like, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, there's a lot of ways to poke holes in it, but whatever he's trying to do, watching Thanos try to do anything, I'm like, dude, just keep monologuing about stuff because you are terrifying. Like,
Yep.
I want to have the presence that you have, but unfortunately, I am tiny and not purple.
See, this is where I feel sad. This is where I feel sad for Kelsey's husband. Her main two favorite characters are just gigantic, muscle-bound, discolored men. One's completely green and one's completely purple.
Look, body paint
As far as-
I don't know
as
why
far
you feel
as-
bad.
As far as, well, I mean, he needs to throw like a good, 1,000 pounds into each arm, and he'll be good to go. Get some pecs going on there too. But
Yeah.
I mean, as
My
far as to
husband's the
say,
skinniest man to ever exist.
as far as to say that whether or not Kelsey's on Thanos' team, this may or may not be official news, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I have heard Kelsey refer to him as Purple Poppy a couple times. That's all I'm saying.
Purple Poppy.
It took a whole 3 seconds to click in my brain what you were trying to say.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like that scene too. Except I like the other part of that scene where it was the heroes came out and they're all like, "What is he doing?" And Thor's like, "He's just sitting there." And I was like, he's just staring at him like they weren't even that far apart away from each other.
Yeah,
They're
they're
like
maybe like 50 feet away. And he's just been sitting there. I was like, what the fuck? He's just sat there the whole time.
They're just staring at each
man.
other. They're just fucking that close, and he's just sitting there. And I was like, okay. So the reason why I like having these conversations before we do the review shows with a couple of my buddies because like one of them is really good at like poking holes in theories. One I saw. The second one I didn't. The second one, the one that I didn't that he pointed out is that Nebula only had one vial of the Hank Pym or the Pym particles. Her getting that entire fleet to them, it's completely nowhere close to actually being able to happen. Just not even possible. It's physically not even possible. So I didn't even pay
that's a good
attention to that. The first one I did, and that was when Hulk went to go take the time stone from the Grand One or whatever they call her name, the mystical one.
Yeah.
She literally goes, "If you take this stone, it will break apart the reality because the stones need to succeed together in order for our reality to stay the same, or it makes a different branch." Okay, that's fine and dandy. All the stones are currently destroyed in the other reality. So why is chaos just not fucking everywhere right now? Like, what? None of them exist. Not a single fucking zone exists. And everything's just moving on. Life's just continuing. Like, fucking, yeah, Thanos killed everybody, but that was on his own free will. Had nothing to do with the stones. He used the stones to do it. It's like, there's no fire raining through the sky. Fucking ocean flooding. Everything is fine. Nothing is wrong. Life is just continuing. Just half of it is gone. That is it. I was like, this makes no sense. Like, oh my god.
I was talking to a friend today on. I saw the movie yesterday, so this is like the first day I could talk to anyone about it. And his immediate thing was time travel plots always suck because they always contradict themselves.
Oh yes, that was the biggest.
And I was like, I don't care. I'm like, they stuck the landing. I felt things at the end. Like, screw up the plot all you want. I'm not gonna nitpick it. Like, I was emotionally invested. Like, the spaceship needed to show up. So whatever hand waving BS they got to do to get it there, I'm on board. Like, I will suspend all disbelief if the emotional moment hit the right way, and they definitely did. So I'm like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Cody, I totally agree with you. My only complaint is I had to have a 45-minute long argument with a slightly drunk friend about the fact that Thanos couldn't just continue and steal the stones again because that's how time works. And I was like, no, he left the past, meaning he doesn't exist there anymore. He died in the future. He is not in the past to go and grab them again. But they were all put back in the same spot. I'm like, yeah, but Thanos wasn't. Like, Thanos dropped him back off. And
Yeah,
like, they were not getting it. And I'm like, he left the past. It didn't happen.
That was a good point that another one of my friends made. Like, these Marvel movies and Marvel comics is when you get the Infinity Gauntlet, it's just like freaking everything's out the window. It's like you make up the rules.
Oh, for
and
sure.
it's all about how the writers decide to use it. You know, like, you have the ability to create everything. Like, sure, you can make anything happen, but it's like, if you tell a good story with having infinite cosmic power, good job. You've shown some, like, being a little bit reserved in your storytelling. So I thought they did a good
Yeah.
job of that. It didn't feel completely goofy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have gone totally goofy with it, and they didn't. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie for what it was, but yeah, fucking Tony is one of the friends that I was talking to. That's his biggest pet peeve is time travel in movies.
Yeah.
And so like he immediately was like, I love how they set up the perfect example of how it should work and literally just disregarded everything they said and just went with it. It was like, this is exactly how it works. Now fuck all that. It's just throw it out the window. This is what we're doing.
I did love how many times they poked fun at that though, where they were
Oh yeah.
was it like War Machine and Ant? I'm sorry, I don't know the actors or the real people names. All I know is the like hero names.
That's fine.
So not Iron Man, when War Machine and Ant Man were like listing all of these rules about time travel, I'm like, did you just get that from like Terminator and Back to the Future? Like, that's not
And
how
then they
time
kept
travel
throwing
works.
that out too. They're all like, Back to the Future was fucking wrong. Like it was just
Like,
wrong.
what?
And
I
Ant-Man
love
was really
that.
upset about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, fucking, Die Hard? Nah, that's not one.
That was pretty good. I definitely liked how when they went back into the past and then they're all like, Hulk, we might need you to smash some stuff, and he's all like, it's kind of
Yeah, just like half-heartedly.
yeah, Rah, smash. I was like, that was pretty fucking funny.
Kind of flips the motorcycle over, just like
Yeah.
Yeah,
eh.
that was pretty good. Oh my god, watching the fucking Star-Lord scene. And then them to go where the music's not playing and just listening to him sing was fucking phenomenal. Oh god, I love that so much. And then War Machine just clocks him the fuck out. I was like, well, that had to hurt. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
I like that should have. I was like that should have done way more than knock him out.
Oh, yeah, for
Like,
sure, for sure. Oh man,
He
that scene
clocked
was
him
so
real
good.
good.
So it's been brought up a couple times, whether it was Dark Star Dead Funny, where when I watched the first Avengers and they all did the whole circle up scene back to back, I cried in the theaters because that was like the first time I got to see my heroes that I read about ever since I was a child on the screen all together. Man, dude, was it fucking rough to get through Iron Man's funeral, dude. I was bawling my fucking eyes out. I was like, no, like whenever first I choked up whenever Spider-Man died in Infinity War because he did such a good job of playing that off. I was like you actually fucking felt for him. And then the shoe was on the other foot, but it's the same actor doing it. I was like, God damn it, get Tom Holland out of here. Fuck you, Tom Holland. Make me feel it feels like that. So I started tearing up a little bit, and then they're doing his whole funeral. And then it started panning over everybody, and like I was like, all right, I'm good, I'll make it, I'm good. And then all of a sudden it got to fucking Happy and his daughter, and he's all like, your dad liked cheeseburgers. I was like, fuck you, Happy, damn it, because it brought me right back to the first Iron Man. As soon as he gets off the plane, what do you want? A press conference and 6 double cheeseburgers. And I was like, motherfuckers, dude, it hit me with the pills again. Fuck.
That was that was something that to me is like, that's why I could ignore a lot of the flaws with the movie, because like I could go through and find a bunch about like, oh, it cut a drug in the middle or whatever, but at the same time, like, to me, the movie did such a good job of giving Iron Man an appropriate send-off. Well, Iron Man and Captain America both, I felt like, got the exact, like, they were handled solemnly. It wasn't blown off. It wasn't like a throwaway thing. You got like the time to see why Iron Man did what he did. You know what I mean? Like, you got to see all of those people show up to his funeral, but then you got to see all of them live lives because of him. And I'm like, that's like what this is about, right? For him, is like, he did all of this stuff for all of his friends that are now here to remember him. And I was like, that's like, it was handled totally seriously. And I loved that it, like, I didn't tear up, but I felt the stuff, you know. It was like, I was invested, and it was sad, but also like bittersweet, because you see that he like saved all of these people, and it's like, that was a good way to end this thing, you know.
For sure. Did anybody notice the fucking random kid at the funeral?
I noticed
who
him,
it
and I
was?
had a wrong theory.
Was that
about
the kid
him.
from Iron Man 2?
Iron Man
Iron Man 3.
It was.
Yeah, it was the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Okay, whatever, whichever one.
Was immediately, and I'm apparently one of the only people who did.
I
I was like,
noticed
who is this kid? And I was like, it has to be that kid from the movie. I was like, but I guess not.
Yeah,
I thought it was
noticed.
gonna be like-
nobody confirmed.
Yeah, no, that's who it was. It was just funny because I was talking to Tony and them, and somebody was like, for a minute there, I was like, was that Tom Holland? Like, I thought Tom Holland was standing to the left of the other people. Was that Tom Holland? Was that Spider-Man? It's like, no, that's definitely a kid. Which is funny because, like, I don't think that kid needed to be there personally. I mean,
No, he didn't.
No.
He just made somebody. He made something to Google. Like he didn't. It wasn't worth it. I'm apparently a monster because I've never been to a theater that was as interactive with what was going on. So I've never been in a theater where people were clapping. Like I've read about it on like Reddit and stuff like that. And I'm like, who would ever do that? But in this time, like this theater, people were clapping, people were cheering. There was like fist bumping, like, and people were openly weeping at the end and all around me, and every single person that I went with cried, including people that literally never cry. I've known them for like 10 plus years, never seen them cry, and I didn't even tear up. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so I need to go to a therapist and check my emotions. Good.
That happened whenever me and my girlfriend went to go see it, like midnight release, and like whenever Iron Man died, I just like see her in the corner of my eye just like snickering, and I'm like, what the fuck are you laughing at? And then all I hear is I was like, oh fuck. I was like, Jesus Christ. It was so I was about to laugh. That shit was too funny. Like, oh man.
Kelsey, I'm on the same boat as you. I didn't cry, and I usually don't at movies, but you know what I did have was a terrible movie going. First time ever, I had someone sitting in front of me texting the whole movie. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, put your phone. It's really distracting.
Good lord, yeah, I wouldn't have put up with that shit.
First,
Personally,
I was just like,
second off, fuck all three of you, okay? I cried, all right? I cried, and I goddamn loved it, all right? I let the emotions come over, and I fucking dealt with it, all right?
No,
like,
I knew it was sad. I knew it was sad, but it wasn't like.
I cried. I cried.
Like,
both
like,
Deadpools. I cried the first Avengers, and I cried this movie as well. Right?
Like I didn't get into like Marvel comics and stuff until I was a bit. I didn't have like comic book stuff and all that stuff. I didn't really get into like Marvel and stuff until like they started coming out with games and shit, and not just like Marvel vs. Capcom. It was like when they came out with I think Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and then they started coming out with those first couple of movies. And I was like, oh fucking Marvel, this is awesome.
Oh, those were terrible. I'm so glad. God damn it, those games were so bad. Like that became the new formula. It's like if a game comes out after a movie and it's based on the movie, it's fucking terrible. Don't buy it.
Excuse me, Spider-Man 2. Pump your brakes.
The first Spider-Man game wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Everybody loved that game.
Every Spider-Man game is great. I
don't know about that. I don't know about that. The best one easily was fucking God damn, what's the name of that? Is it Spider? No, that's the name of the movie. Fuck! Shattered Dimensions. There we go. The one with all of them.
The one that just came out?
No. Shattered Dimensions. The one where it's.
It's just no.
Spider-Man.
No,
It's Spider-Man, North Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099, and Ultimate Spider-Man. And you go through like different dimensions with all of them together and shit. It's so good. It was like
that one was a good Spider-Man. I remember like me and my friends went to we went to Best Buy and they had like a demo of it, but it wasn't a demo. It was the whole fucking game. We were there for like 6 hours playing Spider-Man.
Spider-Man games are good.
Fun.
Spider-Man games are good.
They are.
Oh, but yeah, no. The reason why I cried at both Deadpool's Cody. All right, because Deadpool's my favorite
one I get.
fucking
the
character.
One I get. The first one I don't.
It was more of tears of achievement. Okay, when I became a Deadpool fan, he was a D-list villain. Okay, D-list villain. To see him rise so high in Marvel to finally get his own movie, I cried.
He was
with
already
Ryan Reynolds.
in a movie. I mean, Ryan Reynolds already.
We don't talk
No.
about that. We don't.
No,
talk
we
about that.
no. Even I don't accept
I'm
that.
gonna start sending you
We don't
pictures.
talk about that.
Like every night, you're gonna go to sleep, and the last thing you're gonna see is a text from me that's just a picture of bad Deadpool.
I'm just gonna have to block Cody now. Yeah, we don't talk about that. That entire movie was so great solely for the fact that it was like venting the stress of all the fans. We got to make fun of the Green Lantern movie together, and then we got to make fun of that terrible, shitty Deadpool movie together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Wolverine movie, I'm sorry. Anyways, back to the good shit. I'm trying to think of what my favorite scene was. No, that's right. My favorite scene was easily Iron Man doing his fucking catchphrase for the last time. Where fucking Thanos is like, I am inedible. And I was like, I am Iron Man. Snap. Bam. It's good. So good.
That was pretty cool.
I think for me, like the moment that stood out, like there's kind of two, and one of them is like this character's moment, but the first time that the Avengers all fight together again, like when they're going up to fight Thanos again, I loved the way that was set up at the very beginning of the movie when Tony Stark comes back and he's like collapsing because he hasn't eaten in like a month or whatever because he's been stuck out in space. And he's yelling at Steve Rogers for like, you were gone when I needed you. It's like, it doesn't matter about the Sokovia Accords. Like, you should never have left this thing. Like, there was a reason why we existed, and it was Thanos, and you weren't there when I needed you, you know? And then at the end of the movie, them kind of getting to redo that fight with Thanos, but back together as friends again. I was like, that was a cool moment. Like, that was like the emotional beat for me of like, oh my gosh, like, they get to do this again the right way, you know? And then when all of the Avengers, like, show up at, you know, and when at the like when they're losing the battle or whatever. But I also just liked Captain America in that fight, like how much he just keeps getting the crap kicked out of him. Like poor Captain America being the only person that's not totally indestructible or destructible. You know, it's like if Iron Man gets stabbed, he's just dead. But like Captain America can kind of just keep getting almost killed because he's like slightly stronger. You know.
Yep.
So you're like, he gets punched, you're like, man, he's not dead, but he's hurt.
Yep,
you know, like if Hawkeye gets punched, it's just like, well, Hawkeye's dead. Like he's totally dead.
Yeah,
he's just 50. Like his superpower is bad knees.
I was actually excited that we got to see Ronin. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Really cool twist on that whole thing. I was really surprised when we got to, like, obviously I saw it in the fucking trailer, so I knew it was coming, but then like it showed up in the movie and I was like, fuck yeah, Ronin, let's go. Yeah.
What do you guys think the tinging at the end was?
I think that was just their way of saying that they're fucking Marvel's working on it.
No, I saw a video about it because I was curious about it too. They said that's Iron Man's hammer when he was making the first suit.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, I heard that too. I didn't.
And I was like, whatever. I was like, fucking hammer ting, whatever. It's like I guess it's just like their call out to the very beginning, but they did that like how many times with the fucking cheeseburgers and the hammer.
Plenty of other call outs. They didn't need to make their final scene a call back to that again.
Yeah, I kind of wish we would have got like anything.
I wish we would have
to reference.
I wish we could have got
coming down the turnpike with Phase 2.
Same.
That would have been great.
I would have much rather. Yeah, they should have done. I hope they do. Not to go off topic, but I hope they do Galactus as the big main villain. I hope they do Galactus.
That would be pretty cool.
That'd be fantastic.
Although I'm not too sure how I would feel about that due to the fact that like we got Dormammu and he literally did nothing. Like because he's so big, he literally did nothing. Like they just had him stand there and just smash fucking Doctor Strange with his fist like fucking 1,000 times. Like
that is true.
Nothing happened with Dormammu. So if like Galactus showed up and he just stood there while the Avengers just pummeled his fucking face in, I'd be like, all right, well.
I did see a article recently that the Marvel studio head and The Rock are trying to meet up soon, and they're just
make the actual Rock the thing.
Yeah, they said he could be the Thing or he could be
wow,
was it like a Namor or something? Some like Marvel's equivalent to Aquaman.
God no.
And they said because they both tie in with Fantastic Four or something like that. And I was like, this might be a hint at like hopefully Galactus, but I don't know. I'd rather see him as the I'd rather see him as the Thing, not was it fucking Namor? I just forgot the name.
No, not Namor. That would be such a terrible
just
role.
do Fantastic Four. That'd be awesome.
That would be such a terrible role. Yeah, I agree. I would much rather see him as like the Thing versus fucking Namor. God no.
Yeah.
I am curious if their end goal is going to be another like 20 movie saga. You know, like this was the Infinity War or no, the Infinity Stone saga or something, right? Yeah. I'm wondering if they're gonna do that again, or if they're gonna try to like tell smaller stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it'd be interesting to see what they want to do, honestly. Especially if they choose to go with the new Avengers route, because they go to the new Avengers route. I mean, that would have been like the coolest like in-scene credit we could have got. Would have been fucking Falcon in a full-on Captain America suit with the shield, saying Avengers Assemble, and then just not showing us who the Avengers were. That would have been pretty.
I am kind of glad they didn't, just because this felt like final, even though I know they're making a ton more.
Yeah, I mean,
close down the piggy bank, but
yeah.
it like felt good that this was an end that just ended, and then whatever they do after is like, okay, this is kind of a new thing, you know.
Well, we had a conversation about this, a couple of us, and then a couple of me and my buddies had it too, because that's where I first got it from, which was if you could only pick one, and obviously this won't resonate with Brandon as much as it will with the rest of us, but if you could only pick one to finish, which one would you want to finish? Would it be Endgame or Game of Thrones? Like which one? Like they both finish, but you will literally never know the ending to the other one. If people
Oh.
and if people pick, like for instance, Kelsey said Game of Thrones, and I said Endgame, I would know for the rest of my life that Kelsey knows the end of Game of Thrones. But she physically, like, my ears physically just can't hear the information. Like, I just physically can't see it, can't hear it, nothing. So for the rest of my life, I never would have got to finish Game of Thrones, but I know that it finished. I said Endgame one because like this has been like my life. Like I literally grew up reading comics all the time. So for me to be able to see this amazing cinematic like adventure and not finish that would fucking kill me. And I literally don't. I still don't change my answer after seeing the end of Endgame. I much rather would have seen that than whatever the end of Game of Thrones is going to be. One. Two, the second reason is because regardless what happens at the end of Game of Thrones, I could just say, well, fucking, in my opinion, Jon Snow won. So, I mean, that's all that fucking matters. My dude sat on the throne. I don't know that for a fact, but I also don't not know that for a fact. So.
I would say right now for me, it like I would have said Game of Thrones before I saw both. And then having seen the latest episode of Game of Thrones, I don't see them in any way having won a battle with as much like emotional, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. That battle wasn't just like a big CGI punch fest. It was, but you could also see the emotions on the characters. Like these were moments for them where they were overcoming something or having these really strong character moments. Like that thing where like Captain America gets his shield cut in half and he still like manages to stumble his way back up and he's like, well, I'm dying, but I'm still I always get back up. That's like his thing, you know? It's like he can do this all day. And like those emotions hit so well. And so far, like nothing in Game of Thrones has even been close to that. And I know we probably shouldn't get into spoilers for this, but especially given the episode that I saw of Game of Thrones.
I like to appropriately title that episode The Age of Ultron episode of Game of Thrones.
yeah.
Ultron literally killed out of 748 mutants living in New York, there were only 14 left alive. The Age of Ultron in the movie, we killed Quicksilver. Good job, man. Good fucking job. The one superhero no one gave a shit about. Awesome. Thanks, man. Go ahead.
Can I say a Game of Thrones spoiler that's pretty small?
I mean, we already have the spoilers in this, so people already know this is a spoiler.
Oh yeah, this is a Game of Thrones spoiler.
Game of Thrones spoiler right now, just so you know. Episode 3.
When Endgame ended, I leaned over to my friend that also watches Game of Thrones, and I'm like, how is it that more Starks died in this movie? You know what I mean? In Game of Thrones. So I'd been holding on to that for a while, so, you know, but I was proud of it.
I saw a wonderful meme that had, I think, a moment from Toy Story 3 where, like, Woody and Buzz Lightyear, I almost called him Buddy, jeez. Woody and Buzz Lightyear, like, holding hands along with everybody else, and they're, like, sliding into an inferno where clearly all of them, like, all the toys are going to die and stuff like that. And it was, like, me going into the weekend where we've got the Battle of Winterfell and Endgame. Like, it's all my friends and I are died. And that's how I felt. And I even... Like, I was so prepped for all of this, and when Chris originally asked me the question, I said, absolutely, I would want to know Game of Thrones. And now, I'm totally with Cody. I flipped that, because I would have been okay with the end of Infinity War, knowing how the comics ended, would have been fine with it. But the way that movie came together, and the amazing, like, I would not have missed that for anything. And right now, don't give two shits about Game of Thrones anymore, so...
I'm glad I'm not alone in that. I was worried that I was going to be like the sole curmudgeon who's like, screw this stupid thing, they missed the point!
Nope.
But yeah, I'm glad I'm not alone.
Nope. You are not.
I'm not quite on that train, but it did get ruined for me. Like, I knew what was going to happen because I watched it 2 hours later, and I sent texts out to all the people who I thought could possibly ruin it for me, and the people that I didn't send a text out to straight ruined it for me. And the reason why they did is because I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. So obviously the fucking Night King didn't fucking finish his conquest there. So the Atlanta Falcons lost to the Patriots, but we had a 25-point lead on them. It was 3-28 for the Super Bowl. So literally it was a picture of that score, 3-28, and it was the Night's King, or the fucking White Walker King blew a 25-point lead is what it was. And I was like, I literally looked at it and I was like, God damn it. So we're literally sitting there watching the entire time, and I'm like, I already know they lose in the end. I already fucking know I don't know who dies, but I know that they're not gonna fucking win. I was like, fuck. I was so upset.
Yeah, I would have been mad too.
I was like, oh well, it is what it is. Fucking show. I'll be alright. But yeah, the ending battle scene was really good. It was so fucking good. I really enjoyed whenever Peter Parker had the gauntlet and was trying to get it across, and then like he got like ran up on all those things, and he was all like, what was it, instant die mode or something like that? And all instant kill mode. And it's just stab, 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 stab. That was hilarious. But
he's just like laying in a pile of guys. It's just
yeah, and it's just stabbing everybody. But my favorite part was easily when Black Panther had it. Like him fucking just storing up all that energy and shit and having those cat reflexes. I was like, let's fucking go, T'Challa. Let's fucking go. I was so excited about that. I was like, yes. It's so
Guys,
good.
I figured out about Tom Holland having a bad habit of like failing of like letting spoilers go all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so
He's terrible.
I found out about that very shortly before Endgame. And so I was reading up on the fact that what they do is they give him only his lines, and they give him literally no context when they're throwing him in the movie. And they're like, oh, hold on to this thing. He's like, oh, okay, what is it? Not going to tell you. Okay, now look in that direction and look slightly happy. Okay, what's going on? Not going to tell you. And so I watched every scene he was in and every line, because I was like, wait a minute, did they give him lines that would give away what was going on? And so like when he's talking to Captain Marvel and he's about to hand this thing off to her, and he's like, I don't know how you're going to get through that. I'm like, he could be talking to literally anyone because he doesn't know who he's acting opposite against. He could be talking about literally anything.
Yep.
So it killed me, especially because I pictured him having to do that instant death scene, not knowing what's going on. So he's just like laying there rolling around in a green screen area, not having a clue what's happening.
So you brought her up, and I just want to say, I thought that Captain Marvel was great in this movie. Like, I thought that it was like the perfect amount of Captain Marvel to be in this movie. Because I was kind of worried, like, especially at the end when she like flies in and busts the ship. I'm like, is this gonna be like Deus Ex Captain Marvel, where she just like flies in and just like kicks Thanos' head off and is like, I win now, you know? But I thought it was like a funny callback to the movie, that it was like what she's good at doing is blowing up spaceships by just flying through them. So like they started shooting at something off in the distance. I'm like, I bet this is gonna be Captain Marvel. She's just gonna fly through the ship, and then she did. And I was like, hey, that was awesome. I enjoyed this.
I like how you're like, I think it was the perfect amount because she was literally gone for like fucking 85% of the movie.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because like it was weird because her movie made it seem like she was gonna be like the ultimate like hero to save everybody, but nope. It was Tony Stark.
That was like good though because she hadn't been set up for all the other movies. You know what I mean? She was just kind of like
Well, you guys know that she actually recorded that movie before her movie, right?
Yeah.
They actually did the recording for that movie first. So like she literally like her first day as Captain Marvel was like literally in the Avengers. So it's like I don't know. It's kind of weird way to do that in my opinion, but you know, I mean, they did it the way they did it, so it's all good. So I mean, it kind of makes sense on why she wasn't there for as much as the movie she possibly might have been if they would have done her movie first. But yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I knew that she was going to be a big help at the end, and I even said this in our study group. I just didn't see her being the one to end it all. I knew she was going to be a big player. I fucking said this. I said, go watch the goddamn DFU study group. I specifically said Ant-Man and his quantum realm is going to be the big hitter here.
Yep.
And the reason why Iron Man is still alive is because he's going to be the fucking person that gets the fucking machine going the way they need it to go in order for it to happen. Fucking called it. Let's go.
You did.
I loved that though. Like the thing where he got it working and he's like, I should just bury this in a lake. And it's like, you can't. Like that was like a good moment for Tony Stark and Pepper, like kind of Pepper acknowledging like you're not a person that can just like leave this lie. That's not who you are. I know that, you know.
I fucking loved seeing Pepper Potts in a suit. I was so happy about that.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was so fucking cool. Like she showed up and like it was one of those things where like I was talking to somebody about it and they're like they didn't like the scene because they're like it's just physically just Pepper just showing up like she's got like no experience, no combat experience, nothing. I was like, well, you do have to remember in 3 she did get the exterminus shit inside of her. So technically she might not have experience, but she's not technically human either, like anymore at this point. Like the extremists definitely got put inside of her at the end of 3. So I mean, it's not like she's this helpless damsel in distress either. Like she could definitely take some fucking hits and still be good to go, especially if she's in the suit. So not to mention, I mean, there's no way Iron Man's gonna give her a suit and it not have like some onboard system with Jarvis and shit in order to like give her like heads up and warnings, kind of like Spidey sense almost. So. But it was so cool.
Guys, I didn't recognize her, so when she showed up and like people started like clapping around me, and I'm like, "Who the hell is that?" And then they like fly up and they did the back-to-back thing, and I'm like, "Did I miss a goddamn movie? Like, who is this?"
Yeah, one of my friends didn't get it either, and I'm like, "No, but they showed the helmet early on." And
and it just went right over my head. And then when she like came, like when the women all lined up and she came down then, and they actually like showed her hair, and I'm like, I needed the hair to remember who you were. Cool.
Pepper Potts. Yep.
Pepper Potts, I know you.
I
now
did
happy
love that.
and on board.
I did love how like the daughter, because like that's also like another like hit at like the future Avengers too, is Tony Stark's daughter becomes the next Iron Man, obviously Iron Man. And so like her putting the helmet on, I was like, oh cool, that's a nice little touch that they're doing right there. But I love how he's like, you can have it. Your mom never wears any of the things I buy her anyway.
I thought that was cute. I liked that.
That was really good. I also liked, since we talked about like fucking Iron Man showing up and being the person to fix the machine and all that shit, I really loved how he pulled up and then he gives Cap the shield and he's like, oh, by the way, keep that on the DL. I didn't get one for everybody. So that's pretty fucking good.
I really like the way Tony Stark's humor kind of works and how it like grows, because like, and I mean this in a good way, in these later movies, like really after Avengers, like the first Avengers, Tony Stark's humor always feels almost like he's pretending to be Tony Stark. Like at that point you can tell so much it is kind of a coping mechanism, and he is just like right on the edge of falling apart all the time. And he like will make jokes and still quip and they're still funny, but it's like, oh, you're just barely, like, you are so like grabbing onto everything, trying not to let everything fall apart. And still trying to make jokes, and it gives a depth to that character that I like, where it's like, it's not just that he's quippy, it's like, oh, he's barely keeping it together right now, huh? Like,
yep, definitely really good shit for sure. Yeah, I was really excited for the whole fucking movie. Honestly, I mean, it was pretty good. I didn't feel like it was that long either, even though it was like a fucking 3-hour movie. I was
yeah.
I would say it drug in the middle a little bit. Like when they went to go and get and I'm, are they gonna do a best of? Am I gonna get a best of episode? It's like, that's the best of.
I had some people talk about that. Oh fuck, that's right. So the last thing that Tony brought up, and god damn it, I don't know if I'm gonna remember this 100%, but like, so the way they played the scene versus the way that it actually technically happened in the movie, because they didn't explain it at all, was the old Captain America sitting there at the end. It was like he went back in time and he spent all that time with her and everything else, and then like he just grew old and then waited at that bench for that exact moment to happen so that way he would be there, right?
Yeah.
But we know that that's not how that happened, though. When they went back in time, they didn't just go back in time. They went to a different reality where the stones were at. So he didn't go back in time into his spot. He went into a different reality. So he technically would not have been there because he was no longer there anymore. I'd love to hear it, because like we talked about this for like a fucking hour.
He had the Pym particles still with him, right? So he just waited until, because Agent Carter died, like, I don't remember her first name, so her first name's
Peggy.
Agent. Peggy?
Yeah, Peggy.
Peggy Carter died like 4 years ago in the MCU, and then at that point he finally used his Pym particles to return back to where he was supposed to. So he grew old and then came back to the right time. That is the hand wavy explanation for time travel is not is not consistent in this movie. I don't think they thought of that. I think that is a way to explain it away.
yeah, for sure. Because we were like, this would just not happen like this at all. Like, this should conveniently just be sitting there, just fucking waiting. Like, I was like, Jesus, dude.
But I liked Old Man Captain
America.
It
wasn't a bad scene. It wasn't a bad scene. It just it didn't make sense.
It reminded me of something that was in Into the Spider-Verse that I liked, which was when Peter Parker put on the spider, or not Peter Parker, Miles Morales put on the ill-fitting Spider-Man suit and asked if he could return it if it doesn't fit. And then Stan Lee had that little cameo of "It always fits eventually," you know.
Yeah.
I liked that thing when he gave the shield to Falcon. He's like, "How does it feel?" And he's like, "It doesn't feel right. It feels like it belongs to someone else." He's like, "Well, it doesn't." I'm like, that's kind of a cool thing about like, you'll get used to it. Like, it's a mantle that anyone can kind of grow into. So I kind of like that thing about the nature of like carrying on the responsibility of being a hero. And I was like, that was cool. I liked that.
So this is one time where I'm so glad my superpower I have of being able to predict movies didn't happen. The Stan Lee cameo for comic book fans is such a tell that Iron Man was gonna die, and all he did was like drive by a military base and say like "fight the power," but that was like the big issue with Iron Man whenever he came out. Like that's the time he wrote the comic. He made Iron Man to be that hero for people to hate. Like he literally started selling weapons to the government, being this huge playboy and this philanthropist and all this other shit. And like it was like such a huge moment, and like it just blew straight past me because I was just so caught up in like Stan Lee cameo, yes, because I am that guy that every time I see Stan Lee, I'm like Stan Lee. Like I love it every single time. So it blew straight past me because like if I would have been paying attention, like I probably would have been like, "Fuck, Iron Man's gonna die," like because that was such a good send off because that was like the whole fucking issue of fighting for Iron Man to even get a fandom. Like he was so low tier on the fucking Avengers fan base, it was ridiculous because people fucking hated him, and then he didn't really get a good popular fan base till his fucking first movie. So I was like, oh my god, I'm so glad I was not paying attention because this death might not have meant as much to me as it did this time. Oh man, because it was literally just that's all he said too. He was just like fight the power, and then just drove off.
To the merit of how well the movie did, like going into the movie, I was like, well, definitely Tony Stark and Iron Man are gonna die, or not? Sorry, definitely Tony Stark and Captain America are definitely.
I'll say it would be weird if one lives without the other, but I got you.
Well, and it's like, how do either one
Iron
of those
Man
guys
died
retire?
and Tony Stark's still alive. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, but it's just like neither one of those characters could exist in this universe and not be active in it. Like they just couldn't be like, oh, I guess I'll just sit down now. Like, yeah, they're not really characters that do that. So I was like, well, in order for them to move on to other characters, those characters kind of have to stop and end. You know, like Hulk can kind of wander off by himself into the forest and we can just be like, hey, he doesn't want to be here anyways. Thor can go and be an Asgardian. Really, all that Captain America and Iron Man have is being an Avenger. So I was like, really, there's no way they're making it past this movie. But even like assuming that, I thought those moments still hit really well, and it was just because they did such a good job with it.
Well, it's definitely a really good moment. I'm excited to see what we got coming down for Phase 2. I'm sad that Phase 1 is over, but I'm excited to see what we got coming down for Phase 2. It's just crazy to believe like how young I was when we first started this adventure with Iron Man 1. Like, fuck, man. It's crazy.
No kidding.
It's crazy. They did a damn good job, though. They did a damn good job. Like, once I finally got past being the stuck-up comic book guy where I was all like, they keep fucking shit up. They keep fucking shit up. This wasn't the first time the Avengers fought Loki. And then I just got to the point where I was like, look, it's like a new comic book artist picking up a comic and writing the story their way. Like, they were cool enough to put little throwbacks once I started paying attention to the movies, to put little throwbacks to like, hey, we know there's comic book fans. This is like a stab at you, ha ha ha. Like, you know. So I was like, okay, fair enough.
I like that you parented yourself through your adolescent response to something changing something.
It certainly took a while.
I'm glad you're able to be an adult about it at some point. Good job, Chris.
It certainly took a while. Deadpool 1 helped me because that was pretty much a shot-for-shot comic book to fucking live screen fucking make, so I was pretty happy with that. I was like, well, at least somebody did it right. Fuck. But no, the story overall was good. I mean, obviously I was heartbroken that Iron Man died because that's my fucking favorite Avenger, so my favorite superhero since Deadpool's technically an anti-hero. So I was pretty heartbroken. I was like, fuck, man. Like, it's actually funny too because that's another spoiler that happens. Someone guessed it right. Is when we went to go do that DFU. I don't know if I said it on screen, but I know I definitely said it, whether it was on screen or off screen, to you and Dylan, where I talked about one of the pictures that I found that I was going to use was Iron Man. He was on one knee, and in his right hand, it was an Iron Man glove built, and it had the Infinity Stones in it. And I was going to use that as my background picture instead of the one I did, but I was like, it's fan art. I'll do something else. And I was like, I was sitting there as he's fucking holding the glove at the end. I was like, that motherfucker called it. Whoever drew that picture fucking called that shit. It's like, fuck. I was like, good on them, though. Good on them. That was such an awesome, like, whenever he went to go snap and nothing happened, I was like, he stole the fucking gems. Let's fucking go. Let's get it. Although, I jumped the gun on that one, because, like, fucking Doctor Strange held the fucking one up, and obviously he was referring to the one timeline that where it worked out right. He holds the one up, and then Iron Man steals the gems, and I was like, he only stole one gem, and that breaks down the entire system. They turned the gauntlet around, and all the gems were gone, and I was like, all right, I jumped the gun a little too fast on that one. Just it was a good fucking fight, though. This I said off camera, so I definitely wanted to say this. So we had a long conversation about our chubby friend Thor here. I'm surprised they doubled down on that. I did not see that happening. I thought the very first time he like fucking struck himself with his lightning and was like fucking all father power Thor going on, that he was just gonna be fucking ripped Chris Hemsworth again, like golden god glistening fucking muscles and shit. No, that did not happen. I was very surprised that they just kind of like kept rolling with that. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It didn't take anything away from the character or fucking make the character worse. I definitely thought with Chris Hemsworth being the guy that he is, he was going to want to end his Thor run as like the fucking god of thunder. And it's just, yeah, I was surprised. I was really surprised.
I was happy with what they like. While we were talking about it before we started recording, I like saw a bunch of articles saying like it was offensive. They made a fat Thor and then made fun of him, which okay, maybe that's true. But what I liked about that performance was like when you first see fat Thor, it's kind of like haha, fat Thor. That's funny because it's Thor and he's Chris Hemsworth,
right?
And it's awkward to see him with a giant beer belly. But how quickly he like turned from drunk to like miserably depressed, and like kudos to Chris Hemsworth for acting that well. It's like as soon as he says Thanos, you just see him like fall apart. It's just like,
yeah,
oh, you're
awesome.
not like you're not doing well.
Yeah.
And he's not doing well through the whole movie. Like even at the end, he doesn't really feel like he's fully back.
Yeah.
With his
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because like really out of everyone, he's probably kind of lost the most.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like his brother, his dad, his mom, his
Heimdall.
girlfriend,
Yeah, everybody.
his home, everyone. It's just like everything is gone on Thor. And it's kind of that same way with Tony Stark, where you can see like how tenuously he is like
Yeah.
barely holding on and really just not like, and I liked that. I liked the consequence. You could see like for Thor being someone who is kind of vain, like, you know, when he got his haircut, it's like, don't cut my hair, no, like, and he has always been, you know, Thor is always proud of how he looks. I thought that was the right way to subvert that character, is have him like have gone to pieces in that way. So I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. It was funny.
Yeah, it was good to see that these different characters are responding to the tragedies that they've been through, because we so often get to see these guys and these our heroes just shake off all these things that are horrible, and it's like, no, all of these are actual people, and you don't shake it off. Like, these things are things that permanently change you, and we need to acknowledge that. And when you go through really hard crap, you do develop coping mechanisms, whether
Yeah.
it's just witty humor that cuts so hard that everybody's now crying in their own corner so they're not looking at you. And some people turn right to eating and drinking their feelings.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that is reality. So I'm glad that they were willing to show these characters being more than just heroes, like being people.
Yeah.
Well, and that was what I liked about Black Widow too. Like I like that she looked like haggard through the whole movie. Like when you see her and she's basically running what is now like the weird de facto half Avengers, and it's just like, yeah, you're not like, she just threw herself into work, you know. And it's like, you gave her this job like no one. She's just the only one left doing the work, you know.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was seeing that 5 year when it said 5 and you're waiting to see if it says days, months, you know, whatever. When it said years and then they didn't go back in time, that's like what sold me on the movie.
Right.
Was that there is an effect from this snap. Even if people come back, there's still history there that doesn't get to just go away. And I really thought that was what made this movie good.
Yeah.
So the last two complaints that I had. If they're really close. Overall, I love the movie. That scene where they first get Thor. First off, the Fortnite thing was fucking hilarious. That was great. I'm so glad we got to see
Yeah.
Kronk and fucking Meek again. That was great. The motivation to get Thor on the ship with the beer, I thought was poor. I thought that didn't. If they would have literally ended it with the fact of like, whenever Hulk was like, you came and saved me, now I'm here to save you. That would have been perfect. That in my mind was good enough. That was good enough. The other part wasn't. So that being said, 1, 2, the other thing, and this is something that Tony kind of pointed out. The movie easily ends on this high note of like remembering everything and fighting for everything. The entire beginning of the movie and the middle of the movie is all about forgetting and moving forward. So it was like the entire movie just like contradicted itself at the end, which was pretty funny because like even Captain America is running this self-help group of like forgetting and moving forward and moving on with life. He tries to pitch it to Scarlett Johansson's character Black Widow, like fucking Rocket Raccoon is sitting there slapping Thor in the face whenever they're in Asgard, like forget about that, this is where we're at now, we got to move forward, da, 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 da. But he still goes back and talks to Freya, and even Freya kind of technically does it too, is like move forward, be the man that I know that you're supposed to be the Thor, da, da, da. And the entire end of the movie is the exact opposite of that. So it was pretty great. But overall, the movie was solid. So we are getting close to wrap up time here. So I guess to end this, ratings officially from 0 to 10, where does this movie fall for you? 0 to 10 ratings. Brandon, hit me.
High 9.
High 9.
High 9.
Kelsey, hit me.
9 to 10. Yeah, easily.
Cody, hit me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say high like 9.5, and I'll say like a second rating is I watched all the Marvel movies, so I ranked all of them. For me, this is like tied for first place with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So this is my favorite Marvel movie as well, or close.
Fair enough. I'd go 9 as well. Like I said, with the small little issues that I had, I'll go 9 as well. But like nothing in this movie made me not like the movie. I'll put it that way. Whenever I say small issues, like legit small like inconsistencies where I was going like, but nothing.
That's how I
took
felt
away
about
from
the
it
flaws.
Yeah.
Where,
nothing took it away.
When I left the movie, I wasn't thinking about plot holes and the fact that there are like these little weird draggy moments. I was like, yep, that like made me feel the stuff it was supposed to make me feel. It did it, you know.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure you like and subscribe. Also, turn on those notifications. That way you get notified every time we upload another video. Also, hit us in the comments below. Let us know what you thought about Avengers Endgame. I almost said Infinity War. Endgame. Give us your official rating on the movie as well, so that way we know. Let us know what your favorite parts were. Once again, if you didn't see the movie and you watched all the way through this, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I got spoilers in the top. I said spoilers throughout this fucking thing multiple times. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you. But if you haven't seen the movie yet, go fucking watch it. It's great. Definitely worth the time to sit down and watch the 3-hour long leg that it is. It's great. It's fantastic. But at the end of all this, hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We will see you next time.